Bernardo?
He!
You come most carefully upon your hour.
It is now struck 12. Get thee to bed, Francisco.
For this relief, much thanks. 'Tis bitter cold and I am sick at heart.
Have you had quiet guard?
Not a mouse stirring.
Well, good night. If you two meet Horatio and Marcellus, the rivals of my watch, bid them make haste.
I think I hear them. Stand ho, who's there?
Friends to this ground.
And liegemen to the Dane.
Give you good night.
Farewell, honest soldier. And who hath relieved you?
Bernardo has my place. Give you good night.
Hola, Bernardo.
Say what? Is Horatio there?
A piece of him.
Welcome, Horatio. Welcome, good Marcellus.
What, hath this thing appeared again tonight?
I've seen nothing.
Horatio says 'tis but our fantasy and will not let belief take hold of him, touching this dreaded sight twice seen of us. Therefore I have entreated him along with us to watch the minutes of this night, that if again this apparition come, he may approve our eyes and speak to it.
Tush, tush, 'twill not appear.
Sit down a while.
And let us once again assail your ears, which are so fortified against our story. What we 2 nights have seen.
Well, sit we down, and let us hear Bernardo speak of this.
Last night of all, when yon same star that's westward from the pole had made his course to illume that part of heaven where now it burns, Marcellus and myself, the bell then beating one.
Peace! Break thee off! Look where it comes again!
The same figure as the king that's dead.
Thou art a scholar! Speak to it, Horatio!
Looks it not like the king? Mark it, Horatio.
Most like. It harrows me with fear and wonder.
It will be spoke to.
Speak to it, Horatio!
What art thou that usurps this time of night, together with that fair and warlike form in which the majesty of buried Denmark did sometimes march? By heaven, I charge thee, speak!
It is offended!
It stalks away.
Stay! Speak! Speak! I charge thee, speak!
'Tis gone and will not answer.
How now, Horatio? You tremble and look pale. Is not this something more than fantasy? What think you on't?
Before my God, I might not this believe without the sensible and true avouch of mine own eyes.
Is it not like the king?
As thou art to thyself. Such was the very armor he had on when he the ambitious Norway combated. So frowned he once when, in an angry parle, he smote the sledded Polacs on the ice. 'Tis strange.
Thus twice before, and jump at this dead hour, with martial stalk hath he gone by our watch.
In what particular thought to work, I know not. But in the gross and scope of my opinion, this bodes some strange eruption to our state.
Good now, look here and tell me, he that knows, why this same strict and most observant watch so nightly toils the subject of the land, and why such daily cast of brazen cannon and foreign march for implements of war, why such impressive shipwrights, whose sore task does not divide the Sunday from the week. What might be toward that this sweaty haste doth make the night joint laborer with the day? Who is that can inform me?
That can I. At least the whisper goes so. Our last king, whose image even but now appeared to us, was, as you know, by Fortinbras of Norway, thereto pricked on by a most emulate pride, dared to the combat, in which our valiant Hamlet, for so this side of our known world esteemed him, did slay this Fortinbras, who by a sealed compact, well ratified by law and heraldry, did forfeit with his life all those his lands which he stood seized on to the conqueror. Against the which a moiety competent was gauged by our king, which had returned to the inheritance of Fortinbras, had he been vanquisher, as by the same covenant and carriage of the article designed, his fell to Hamlet. Now, sir, young Fortinbras, of unimproved metal, hot and full, hath in the skirts of Norway here and there sharked up a list of landless resolutes for food and diet to some enterprise that hath a stomach in't, which is no other, and it doth well appear unto our state but to recover of us, by strong hand and terms compulsatory, those foresaid lands so by his father lost. This, I take it, is the main motive of our preparations, the source of this our watch, and the chief head of this post-haste and rummage in the land.
I think it be no other but e'en so. Well may it sort that this portentous figure comes armored through our watch. So like the king that was and is the question of these wars.
The mote it is to trouble the mind's eye. In the most high and palmy state of Rome, a little ere the mightiest Julius fell, the graves stood tenantless, and the sheeted dead did squeak and gibber in the Roman streets. And even the like precurse of feared events, as harbingers preceding still the fates, and prologue to the omen coming on, have heaven and earth together demonstrated unto our climatures and countrymen, as stars with trains of fire, and dews of blood, disasters in the sun, and the moist star, upon whose influence Neptune's empire stands, was sick almost to doomsday with eclipse. But soft! Behold, lo, where it comes again. I'll cross it, though it blast me. Stay, illusion! If thou hast any sound or use of voice, speak to me. If there be any good thing to be done that may to thee do ease and grace to me, speak to me. If thou art privy to thy country's fate, which happily foreknowing may avoid, oh speak. Or if thou hast uphoarded in thy life extorted treasure in the womb of earth, for which they say you spirits oft walk in death, speak of it! Stay and speak! Stop it, Marcellus!
Shall I strike at it with my partisan?
Do if it will not stand!
'Tis here!
'Tis here!
'Tis gone. We do it wrong, being so majestical, to offer it the show of violence. For it is as the air invulnerable. And our vain blows malicious mockery.
He was about to speak when the cock crew.
And then it started. Like a guilty thing. Upon a fearful summons. I have heard the cock that is the trumpet to the morn doth with his lofty and shrill-sounding throat awake the god of day. And at his warning, whether in sea or fire, in earth or air, the extravagant and erring spirit hies to his confine. And of the truth herein this present object made probation.
It faded on the crowing of the cock. Some say that ever 'gainst that season comes wherein our Savior's birth is celebrated. The bird of dawning singeth all night long. And then they say no spirit can walk abroad. The nights are wholesome. Then no planets strike, no fairy takes, nor witch hath power to charm. So hallowed and so gracious is the time.
So have I heard, and do in part believe it. But look, the morn in russet mantle-clad walks o'er the dew of yon high eastward hill. Break we our watch up, and by my advice, let us impart what we have seen tonight unto young Hamlet. For upon my life, this spirit, dumb to us, will speak to him. Do you consent we shall acquaint him with it, as needful in our loves, fitting our duty?
Let's do it, I pray. And I this morning know where we shall find him most conveniently.
The play begins near midnight, at a castle in Elsinore, Denmark. Bernardo, a guard on sentry duty, enters to relieve his comrade, Francisco. Suddenly, two figures emerge from the darkness. "Stand! Who's there?"
"Friends to this ground."
"And liegemen to the Dane." The two new characters are Marcellus, another guard, and Horatio, a scholar. They've all come together at this late hour because Bernardo and Marcellus claim that they have seen a ghost while on duty lately. And Horatio, ever the scholar, is skeptical about this so-called ghost.
"Horatio says 'tis but a fantasy, and will not let belief take hold of him."
"Tush, tush, 'twill not appear."
Peace! Break you off! To Horatio's surprise, the ghost does appear. And moreover, the ghost resembles their former king who had recently passed away. The ghost is even wearing the same armor that the dead king wore when he went out to the battlefield. Marcellus and Bernardo urge Horatio to speak to the ghost, since they are merely uneducated soldiers, while Horatio is a smarter scholar. Horatio orders the ghost to identify itself and speak, but instead, the ghost just disappears. Horatio is clearly shaken by the ghost's appearance, and Marcellus communicates that the ghost has already appeared twice now. For Horatio, the appearance of the ghost sounds like very bad news. "How now, Horatio? You tremble and look pale. Is not this something more than fantasy? What think you on it?"
"In what particular thought to work I know not, but in the gross and scope of mine opinion this bodes some strange eruptions to our state."
To Horatio, the ghost's appearance is an ominous event, and it might mean that something bad is about to happen in Denmark. Marcellus questions Horatio with something that he is particularly curious about. He wonders why there has been so much tension recently in Denmark's military alertness. Horatio explains, before dying, King Hamlet killed King Fortinbras in battle, and as according to their agreement by law, the victor claimed the loser's territory. Now, the dead King Fortinbras has a child named Fortinbras. Yes, they are the exact same names. And apparently, there are rumors that young Fortinbras is preparing to take back the land that his father had lost as an act of vengeance. This may be the reason that Denmark's military is so tense. Before we continue with this story, it's important to focus on just two key relationships. King Hamlet, who is now dead, has a son named Hamlet. King Fortinbras, also dead, has a son named Fortinbras. So, from this point on, if Hamlet or Fortinbras are mentioned, we're referring to the children and not the dead fathers. Suddenly, the ghost appears once again, but this time, Horatio is more prepared to speak to it.
"Stay, illusion! If thou hast any sound or use of voice, speak to me. If there be any good thing to be done, that may to thee do ease and grace to me, speak to me. If thou art privy to thy country's fate, which happily foreknowing may avoid, oh, speak!"
At the crowing of a rooster, the ghost starts to disappear again. Horatio orders Marcellus to stop the ghost from leaving. But of course, this doesn't work out. Afterwards, Marcellus admits that it was a foolish attempt to intimidate the ghost with violence. Marcellus realizes that the ghost flew away at the crowing of the rooster. The men agree that they've all heard stories of how the crowing of the rooster expels evil, since the crowing signifies that the god of day has now awakened. Horatio is convinced that they should inform Hamlet of the night's events. He feels that although the ghost did not speak to them, it would speak to its own son, Hamlet.
Who can face the greatest challenges with grace and strength? Kids can.
In Act 1, Scene 1 of Hamlet, Sentinels Bernardo and Francisco stand the night watch at Denmark's Elsinore Castle. Francisco is about to go off duty when another sentinel, Marcellus, appears with Horatio, a friend of the young Prince Hamlet. After Francisco leaves, Marcellus and Bernardo discuss a ghost they have been seeing on watch lately. The ghost, they say, looks a lot like the late King Hamlet, Prince Hamlet's father. But Horatio is skeptical. As they try to convince him what they saw was the ghost of King Hamlet, the ghost suddenly appears. The guards urge Horatio to try to speak with the ghost, but when he pleads with it to speak, it disappears. Horatio is terrified and suggests that the ghost presence might be a bad omen for Denmark. Noticing that the ghost was wearing the armor King Hamlet wore when he fought old Fortinbras of Norway, he recounts the story. In a battle over a small piece of land, old Fortinbras was killed by King Hamlet. Now, Fortinbras's son, also named Fortinbras, seeks to avenge his father's death and reclaim the land. As Horatio concludes his story, the ghost appears again and seems as though it were about to speak. Suddenly, however, the sun rises and the ghost slips away. Horatio suggests that they inform Hamlet of what they've seen. In the first scene of Act 1 of Shakespeare's Hamlet, he pulls the audience in with an intriguing ghost episode. Horatio's account gives readers a good amount of backstory in a relatively short scene. For instance, readers learn of the recent death of old King Hamlet. They learn of the tensions between Denmark and Norway and of Denmark's current state of unrest. This backstory will become the plot that unfolds over the course of Hamlet. Horatio goes from being skeptical to now fearing what the ghost foreshadows, especially for his good friend, Prince Hamlet. In this scene, Horatio also introduces the Fortinbras subplot, which will gain importance as Hamlet progresses. The information that Fortinbras has a desire to avenge his father's loss introduces a theme critical to understanding Hamlet's characters, namely the theme of thought versus action. In Hamlet, Fortinbras, described as a man of action, will serve as a foil to young Prince Hamlet.